I wonder what it's like to be a content creator. You get on here and you do a big graphic and a thumbnail, breaking news, Canelo's fighting Deontay Wilder, and then tomorrow it's different. News broke last night, 4-fight plan, not a deal, 4-fight plan, Riyadh season, Turkey Al-Sheikh, heavily involving Canelo Alvarez. Before that, like 10 seconds before that, he was fighting Jake Paul at cruiserweight. And there's a lot of information floating around out there in boxing right now. This is your boy JG. This is the Punch Report. In this video, I'm going to break down the implications of this plan, what it means for Canelo, what it means for Crawford, and what it means for boxing at large. First, I want to say a special thanks to David Morrell Jr., David Benavidez, Tank Davis, Lamont Roach, and a host of other fighters who just get deals done and then do press tour, and then there's a flyer, and then you know what's happening. Tickets go on sale, and you're good to go. One of the issues with all the announced fights from Riyadh season and Canelo's fighting, everybody under the sun, there's never any real legitimacy to these claims, and that's why I caution rushing to make a video about a fight that's a done deal when there's nothing to indicate that the fight is actually done. We got to be careful of that as boxing fans. Now, off my soapbox and over to Canelo. Canelo 4-fight deal, what it means for him. Before I cover the specifics of the deal, this really only means one thing. The second fight will be Bud Crawford if it's true. I said in a video yesterday, I didn't think the fight was going to happen, but if it did, it would have to be in September, not a moment later. So it's looking like there might be some movement there. Canelo, if all of this plays out as it's been presented, is absolutely robbing the bank. Robbing the bank. This is great financially for Canelo. I don't know about a bunch of the fights being overseas, Riyadh season, Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure how that plays out. But regardless, even if Canelo brought that concern to Turkey Al-Sheikh and the matchmakers that operate on that side, they could say, look, listen, Canelo, we understand. We understand you're from Mexico. You have a strong fan base in Mexico and stateside, and you do great numbers, but we're just going to throw money at you. You're just going to get paid hand over fist, and we're going to launch a production. Whether these productions are good or not is to be seen, but you get to check the box for any Canelo concerns with money, and he gets to rob the bank. Why do I call it a bank robbery? The first rumored fight would be against the guy that just knocked out bad Jaime Munguia with a single shot, Sarace, I believe is how it's pronounced. Respect to him. He only had, I believe, 8 knockouts going into the bout against Munguia. He's not known for power. He caught Munguia, who has an all-action style, slipping and bodied him and dropped him. After getting dropped in the third, almost punched out of the ring by Munguia. Got up, he showed a heart, and he got a stoppage. I'm just going to say it now. Anything can happen in boxing. This guy's not beating Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo knows that, and so does Turkey Al-Sheikh. You only put the fight together because they'll, at that point, have a common opponent in Jaime Munguia, who Canelo carried and then beat. That's where that fight is, and that's when it starts to look like, you hitting the cookie jar, you robbing that bank. Second fight, obviously, will be Bud Crawford in September, Canelo dates, if that fight were to come to fruition. A lot of the information would still be on the table as far as the stipulations surrounding that bout. Crawford at 168 pounds, no stipulations, no nothing around it. You just got to fight at 168, a division you've never been in. You've never been above 54, not 60, nothing, and you just got to go up and fight Canelo. 2 videos ago, I already talked about how I felt like that fight would play out and some of the inherent issues with the fight. Didn't offer a prediction, but if you look at the video, you understand which direction I'm heading in. So that's 2 fights. Now you're stretching out to 2026, right? So then what else is on the table? Potential rematch with Dimitri Bivol. That's a tough fight. That's a fight that Canelo lost, but he's fighting Artur Beterbiev in a rematch coming off a loss himself. If he takes an L in that bout, does it hurt that bout in 2026 with Canelo potentially? This is why when you do like a multi-fight deal or a multi-month deal, you just say, hey, we got Canelo for the next 2 years. And you just map it out as fights manifest. But to try to make a plan 2 and 3 years out with guys who are actively fighting and have bouts announced or are coming up, it's a recipe for disaster overall. But anyway, you have Bivol. Maybe Bivol loses again, so he's a lesser version of himself from the last time they fought, right? Maybe gives Canelo a better shot at Bivol at 175 pounds. And then the last fight potentially is, I believe, a Chris Eubank. It's just, if it go, Canelo's going to get paid. So that's the Canelo perspective. I gave you the fight list rundown, what it may look like, how it would play out, and the challenges within that particular lineup and how it's been lined up. Forecasting fights, 2 and 3 years out for a four fight deal or 4-fight plan, more specifically. Because I'm not espousing in this moment of time, this is something that's a done deal like you may be seeing from other content creators. Right now, it's a plan. And until I see a flyer or tickets go on sale, I'm just going to remain skeptical and call it rumored. My last 2 videos, I was very clear. Rumored this, rumored that. I'm by no means confirming, but as news and information drops, I'll speak on it. That's the Canelo perspective. Just think about this. Canelo equals money. He's an economy of himself. So he commands that. Shout out to him. He's going to get paid hand over fist if the plan is real. The Canelo aspect, the Crawford aspect of things. I think Bud Crawford is just going to sit on the shelf until it's been decided by September, yes or no, for Canelo. I don't think he's going to make any moves. He's not going to do anything. He is now officially hitching his career to the back of Canelo Alvarez for that last second, especially with Riyadh season. If it's real like that, especially if he's not getting any accommodations, no stipulations, Bud Crawford is probably going to get the largest payday of his career, move up a bunch of weight and fight Canelo and be done with it. And I think that's why you see Bud Crawford just kind of sitting quietly, not really pursuing anything else, because if I can just get the Canelo fight, then everything will be love. If I can get that Canelo bag, then I'll be good to go. I don't need to do this boxing shit anymore. I think that's a position of Bud Crawford. I haven't really changed from that. It's important that whatever fight he does last, or if it is his last, it's got to be Canelo. Now, from the boxing perspective overall, I actually think this is bullshit. The fact that we were even having a conversation about Jake Paul is absolutely disgusting to me, fighting Canelo Alvarez. The fact that in all these little freak fights, like Tyson, Paul, and Paul versus anybody, you've never seen me mention it. I've never talked about it because this shit is not real boxing. Facts. It's not real. And so I don't want to give it any credence. And shout out to those guys who are figuring out a way to make money. I love what Jake Paul does for Amanda Serrano and, his promotional brand and putting real fighters on in women's boxing. That's just dope. I'll never disrespect that. But as far as fighting guys at 61 years old who are walking with a cane and the dudes off the couch and Nate Robinson got bad kidneys and all this other shit, nobody's checking for that. But the fact that we had to move from a position of Jake Paul, even if it was a leverage play, to now a 4-fight deal that stretches out to late 2026 with guys who already have fights, I think boxing is in good shape. There's some great fights out there coming up. No doubt about that. But when I think about a guy like Canelo Alvarez, or even Bud Crawford for that matter, the fans are not some fans are like, I think, for example, Bud Crawford fans would be like, you see he got 30 million? You're not getting any of that money? He's not paying none of your bills and you trying to tell me he got 30 million. That shit don't mean anything to me. Shout out to Bud Crawford. It's a dangerous sport. I hope he gets what he's worth, but that's not what I'm checking for as a fan. His purse size. It's at least in my concerns. What I'm looking for, does a fight make sense? Is the timing good? What's on the line? Is legacy at stake? But the stuff has to make sense. It can't be just wild shit, right? For Canelo Alvarez, I already mentioned it. Straight money grab with a lot of control. He's already told Turkey, it's going to be my way or the highway. And one thing I really want to point out, you're talking about pushing fights out to 2026. You know what name I didn't mention? I didn't mention David Benavidez. I talked about Crawford, Bivol. I talked about Sarase and Eubanks. And this is Canelo. That's what leads me to believe that this will likely come out, is it's too comfortable for Canelo. It's just way too comfortable for Canelo. He's not making any concessions. All he's doing is getting paid. He'll have to travel, so that might be a little switch up for him. But overall, he's not making any real concessions as far as if this plan is real, what's the strain going to be outside of having to fight out in Saudi Arabia? This is your boy JG. This has been the Punch Report. Let me know your thoughts. Canelo robbing the bank. Crawford with his fingers crossed, hoping that he can just get this deal one way or the other. And boxing fans and content creators being left scratching their head with inconsistent delivery of information and messages because we don't really know what the hell is going on. All right, we out.